well. It's just something about humans. We like sort of that momentum of a moving time signal. So some examples of, so an option that you can choose to use in a launch is a pre-launch offer. So I've done this a number of times. I did it for Launch Magic. Some of you watching this would have bought during the pre-launch offer. So this is when you announce the offer name and you sell it either before it's ready or before the cart is open. So it's quite a good strategy if you even just want to test, is something going to sell? Everything I've done this way has sold well, but that's because I know my ideal client really, really well. But what it does is it kind of gives you this opportunity to talk about the offer, create excitement out the offer. You do that documenting your journey stuff as you're getting it ready for the people who have bought it. Now, I guess if you do a pre-launch and you get no traction, no interest, it's going to tell you that there's something wrong in the marketing message, or there's something not quite right in the audience. So the audience that you have isn't matched to the offer that you've got. And that can happen sometimes, particularly if you've been doing that stuff that I was talking about earlier, where you talk about a lot of different topics. You haven't warmed them up properly. You haven't brought the right people towards you. So I guess that could stop you putting a lot of work into a course, for example, if there's no interest, there's no questions, there's no sales, there's no nothing about it. So what that can do is help you understand what you need to do with your offer when the official launch is happening, because if you're not getting any DMs, or if you're not getting any messages or emails, I mean, sometimes that can mean there's no interest at all, and then you're going to have to think about why is that? Why is there no interest to this offer? And if you get messages and emails with questions, it can help you shape the launch so that you're more clearly communicating what the offer is, so it's obvious to people. And if you're picking up on particular objections that they have, you can include that in your marketing messaging as well. So if they're saying things like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the calls, you can say, well, okay, I need to actually tell people what the call times are so that they feel certain. Or if they're saying how much time is needed to do this, you're going to have to realize that these people might feel they are time poor. So you're going to have to be clear about the time investment and show them how to do it in a way that's the most time efficient. When you're selling before it's completed, usually you will do one of these three things. So you price incentivize it. For example, Referrals Magic, I sold that for $57, but the actual price of that is $87. So it got a lot of really keen people in there. Honestly, it's a total bargain for $57 because it's a bargain for $87. But that is kind of the way that you can create momentum for a pre-launch. The other thing that's really good about a pre-launch is you can start getting reviews from those initial customers to use in your launch. So you can also do a bonus offer, which is what I've done for Launch Magic. So instead of saying if you buy early you get a cheaper price, I've said if you get early you get this bonus offer, which I'm going to sell for $27 as a bump order when I'm in the official launch. So for some people that's been good. I wouldn't say it's working as well for me as a price incentive, but I just thought with Launch Magic there was just no way I wanted to sell what's in this for less than $99. There's too much value in it, so I wasn't prepared to do that. And you've got to have boundaries in your own business, but I'm just sharing with you quite honestly. Usually if I did a price incentive, more people would find that appealing. So the other way that you incentivize this is if you know there's a lot of demand for something and there's limited seats. So that's the case with Thrive Amplified, Amplify Your Expertise, Amplify Your Profit, my group coaching program. So when there's limited seats, a pre-launch works too, because people want to secure their seat. It's not probably going to work that well if it's high ticket and there isn't demand for it. But for example, with Thrive Amplified, Amplify Your Expertise, Amplify Your Profit, it worked amazingly well, and it gave me time to write that program. And to be very honest with you, when I did that, I actually had in my mind, if people don't snap up the seats to this, I might not write it and run it. So I was kind of saving myself time and energy because it was a new product in my business. I'd moved from confidence coaching, therapist well-being, to this. And part of that happened because people were approaching me and coaching all the time saying, I don't want coaching to be confident. I want you to coach me in my business, Nadine. And so really it was a tester of that. But my goodness, when it sold out in less than 48 hours, I knew I was on a winner. I created the content. I actually had it ready for them before the date that I promised, which they all loved. And then we got going on the coaching course. Now, when you buy that offer, you just get course content immediately, so you can actually start working on your business before you're actually in the active coaching phase of the program. All right, so the other thing you can do is sell before the cart is open to all, so you can limit numbers around that. So many people will get it at this price. It creates a bit of a buzz. It gets you reviews to help you sell your program. So you can do it in exchange for a review. So you say to people, look, you can have this course for $97. Everybody else is going to buy it for $297, but we will require you to write us a review. You've got to hope that people stick to their word on that. Mostly they will be. Mostly they'll be people who want good standing with you. If I were to do this, I would offer it to my most loyal ideal clients that I have, because I know that they would do this part for me. I actually did do this once for my very second course, Mastering Tricky Conversations. I just wanted feedback on it. So I guess that was a bit more like a beta test. So I had 4 modules. I gave that to people and I got feedback. That was quite useful for me to do it that way. I probably don't need to do that in my business because I do sell really well and I know my ideal client really well. Those people all gave me reviews for that part of the course that they did, which then I could use to sell the program. And it kind of proves that people want it too. So for example, when I did Mastering Tricky Conversations, I sent out an email on a Saturday morning actually saying who would like to do these 4 modules. I've got 5 spots available for this. So you don't want to give away too many if you're doing the strategy that I'm talking about. And I've got 5 spots. You'll need to exchange for a review. And within 10 minutes, those 5 spots were taken. When the cart is open, so this is when you are selling. So this is after you have a completed offer if you've chosen to do the pre-launch, and you're just selling straight to something that is available. And this stage features direct promotion through sales emails, social media sales posts, and paid advertising to your offer. So in this period, you only talk about your offer, and you're doing that in your emails, in your socials, in your paid ads. So that might sound funny, but some people compete against each other in their ads. So they might run an ad for their lead magnet while they're also running an ad for a paid offer, which is on a different topic. You can do that if you want to. I just think if you really just want to sell the absolute maximum of something, I wouldn't, because a confused buyer doesn't generally buy. And also, if they can get on your free lead magnet instead of buying your course, particularly if those things are not on the same topic, it's not in your best interest. And I've even had a Facebook ads coach that I did a high ticket program with say she doesn't do it to herself, because the algorithm knows you and it's going to make your ads compete with an audience that it knows works for you. So just stick to one ad. So we need to stick to that one topic, which is your offer, not the things you do in your business, just your offer, to remind your audience of the offer. Keep your audience focused on your offer and avoid confusing your audience. And so it can feel really boring. I am often just relieved at the end of the launch that I can now talk about different things, but I've learned the hard way that if you don't just talk about your offer in that 2-week active launch period, you will miss out on sales, because it's the 20th time for you, but for some people, particularly with the social media algorithms, or if they're busy during the time the emails are coming, they haven't seen the offer at all. So you might have talked about it 20 times, 100 times, and then they see you, it's the first time. But if you hadn't done it that 20th or 100th time, then they weren't going to see that at all. And together with what I said earlier about the repetition, building the like, no, trust for you and the offer, but also building that desire and building that momentum that yes, it is the right thing for me. So we've got a group of buyers who are quite emotional and just instantly know that something is for them. Other ones need a lot of information. They need to build anticipation towards it. They need to feel certain. And so they're going to have to hear about this a lot. Also, other things can happen, like people see it on social media, then they go to get out their credit card and their child starts crying, so they put it away, and then it's all forgotten. And until they see the email or until they see you talking about it again, they'll forget that they were about to buy that. So repetition. It's so important. I cannot emphasize that enough. Same with emails. It's not just one email. There's going to be a repeated series of emails. They're going to say slightly different things. If you bought the Launch Magic email templates and the email guide, with the offer, then you will get a lovely set of suggested ways to do this. You need to have a series of emails. So you want to schedule those, and that really helps with the open cart wobble. So a lot of the time, if you don't do this, then you'll start to think, oh no, what should I send? What should I do? But you just want to run your campaign, you automate them, and then it just happens without you having to do anything. It keeps that momentum of emails going, and you won't be worried about how many people unsubscribe. It's just sticking to the plan. So you want to begin with announcing the offer with excitement, and every single email you send, it's about helping your ideal client. So this is why email marketing doesn't result in your entire list unsubscribing, because when they're your ideal client, this email marketing will actually be enjoyable to them because it's actually helping them. The emails don't just go, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. They're not sort of saying, I need to make money. That's what a bad sort of email sales campaign will do. And so the emails continue over the open cart campaign. They have all sorts of topics that are relevant to the offer and your ideal client's interests. And then you finish up with a doors close email, and then there is a follow-up email. And we'll talk about why you do it that way in the launch. On your socials, you're going to talk about your offer daily or more. Now, people don't guard their socials in the same way that they guard their inbox, right? So you could talk about that multiple times on social media across multiple platforms. So when I'm doing this, for example, I would have posts in my main feed and in my Instagram stories. I would be doing it across all of my platforms. That is more tolerable for people than if I was to send 10 emails a day, for example. So what I want you to do is have posts. So you're going to do them in the main feed on each platform that you use, in your stories if you're using Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. You can advertise in relevant Facebook groups where permitted. So I'm really big on this. You should be putting your offers in groups where the ideal client lives. So very often I see therapists advertising to groups of therapists, and they are not the ideal client for the offer. So I think they're kind of hoping that maybe someone will think, oh, my client will want to come and do your course. That is highly unlikely. And if you're not getting any traction from that, it's because most people, therapists in these Facebook groups, they're looking for how to improve their own businesses, how to bring clients towards them. They're generally not wanting to share their clients with other therapists because that's how they make their money, right? A number of my coaching clients, they're in groups where their ideal clients live. So women who want to date, or women of a certain age, for example, and they will put their social media posts in there, and they do attract clients. In that way, they do attract people to their businesses. So with your paid ads, you're going to run these every day of the launch as well. You want a bigger budget than normal for an ad. So don't use the same budget that you've done for your lead magnet, which you might run all year round. You absolutely have to have strong marketing copy. You need a strong image that attracts your ideal client. You need to have your ad set up right. Okay, so there are courses for all the platforms for how to do that. I highly recommend you do that, because otherwise you can waste a lot of money. And I mentioned about the budget, but in this time, you really got to try and push it out. And the more money you spend, the more these advertising companies will push it to people. If the budget is too small, almost nobody's going to see it. So on the side here, I have my ad, which most of you have probably seen. And although I did say a strong image, this is actually the image for the ad. And it's a message that absolutely works. This is probably the most successful copy that I have for the campaign. You're not getting referrals, not because you're not a talented therapist. So that's their pain point, right? A lot of people, when they're not getting enough referrals, they think, oh my gosh, I must be bad at this. But I'm saying it's not that. It's actually that you don't have the right strategy. Get the strategy so that you can get enough referrals. And that works very, very well. But it's very clear. It's very much about what people want. It's very simple, as you can see. So that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about there. If you need help with your marketing copy, if it's not strong enough, start with Marketing Magic, my instant access offer. That will help you do this. Okay, everything I teach in there is what makes this ad be the success that it is. Things that will help boost your sales, so incentives for early purchases. So you guys might see people doing early birds. They absolutely work. You want to incentivize either the price or you want to offer bonuses. So the bonus must be something that ideal client will want, and it's got to be connected to the offer as well. Talking about sales and interest in the offer. So if people are asking you questions about it, people are buying it, any kind of proof along those lines. Countdown timers, sharing reviews if the type of offer and ideal client you have, that is possible to do that within your code of conduct and advertising guidelines that you're practicing under as a therapist. Absolutely do that. It makes a lot of difference, and you want to have a warning that the doors are closing at the end. So that's going to be done in the email, and it's going to be done in your social media posts as well. So a really big caution, and I've been caught out so many times with this: check your links on your emails, your posts, your ads. I've even had paid ads go out with a link that was broken. So you don't want to waste money doing things like that. But a broken link means lost sales. Get someone else to check your link. So get someone, a friend or your virtual assistant, to go through and make sure all those links are checking as well. I say that because sometimes I have checked all my links and apparently I seem to have missed one. And then people will say it's not working. So the doors are closing part of the launch. In this doors are closing, we want to emphasize fear of missing out, and we also want to answer your ideal client's remaining objections. You might recall earlier in the training I said that some people need a lot more information to feel comfortable to purchase, and they will have a range of objections. So a really common one that I can explain easily is when people have been trying hard at something and they've tried lots of things. For example, trying to lose weight. A lot of those people have a lot of objections. So I don't think it will work for me. How is it different to anything else I've done? And you will need to answer those objections. And their fear of failure is very high. So this isn't, and it's not just the weight loss people, there's other people as well, where they've been struggling for years. I guess another example of that would be, say, the late diagnosed neurodivergent people. They're really worried that they're going to buy this and it's just going to be full of strategies that they already have tried and don't work, or they won't be able to apply them, or something like that. In the final days of the launch, we want to emphasize fear of missing out in emails, posts, and ads. So you can also retarget your ads to people who showed interest in the offer only. You don't have to keep sending the ad out to people who like everywhere if you don't want to. So it's really about not just missing out on the opportunity to work with you or learn from you, but also missing out on that transformation. So how much longer will they live with this problem? Some of my coaching, I sort of say to people, how much longer are you going to wait till you create this additional income stream? You know, potentially there are always going to be things that get in the way, but this is what you want. So let's not wait any longer. Don't miss this opportunity to do it this time. And we want to answer your ideal client's remaining objections. So those who haven't purchased by now often need more information to purchase. They need to feel more certain. So what happens for me at this stage of the launch is I start to get more messages from people asking certain things like, when are the calls? How much time does it take? Does it include this? Does it include that, etc.? This is all stuff that you can actually use in future launch periods as well, by the way. Make sure in your sales pages you've got answers to those questions. So in the remaining social posts, emails, and retargeted ads, you talk about those things. Like, you might be wondering when the calls are. Guess what? This is when they are. I will often say things like, and if you can't make it, they're recorded, because I have a group of people who are quite worried that, you know, something will come up in their life and then they're not going to get the value from that. It's the reason I often record it for most things that I do, because it really does help people get over the line. People don't want to spend money that's wasted. And so if you had that group of people who were worried that they'll fail, you would talk about how your offer is different, how they're more likely to succeed, what you do to make your training, your course, your coaching program different to make that more likely after the launch. So a lot of you might be thinking, why are we talking about launch strategy after the launch? I've got all the sales I'm going to get. Why do I care? Well, this is what happens in the post-launch. You want to celebrate the sales, acknowledge the success, acknowledge that you did it. It can feel like a long time. If you're talking about something for 2 weeks, it's a long time to be talking about that every day. and you need to acknowledge that you did it, you stuck to your launch strategy. What we then do is we look for post-launch feedback from those who didn't buy, and we do a post-launch analysis, because in this additional income stream business, it's all about tweaking and improving for next time so that you get more sales next time, so that the launch works better next time. And you can learn a lot from doing this. So in the post-launch celebration, we want to notice what went well. We want to acknowledge staying the course and the effort that you put in, and we want to celebrate the sales and profit. It's really important to do that part, because you've done it, you've brought more money into your business, you've done it outside of doing one-on-one therapy. It is really worth celebrating, even if you don't crack exactly what you want to. Sometimes it will be amazing and your launch will go so much better than you imagined. And make sure that you celebrate in any way that you would do generally, and sort of give that a bit of a moment. Now, the post-launch feedback. So you can ask your audience what stopped you from buying. I noticed you were interested. Why didn't you buy it? And this is really probably best to target towards people who you know were interested in it because they asked you questions about it. They clicked through on their emails, or if you had a specific email list set up to an interested group like the VIP list model or the wait list model. So you want to contact those people and say, I'm just wondering, why didn't you jump on board this time? Could you let me know? Is there any feedback you have? So very commonly when I do this, I do hear things about what wasn't that clear in what I communicated, which I can change. But there can be other things like, I'm going to be away when it's happening, I'm not available for the calls at that time, that sort of stuff. And so that way I can have a conversation, particularly with the high ticket offers. This is really worth doing. And then I can offer to put them on the wait list for the next period, because they're like, I would like to do it, but I just can't because these are the reasons in my life. So we can learn from all of that information that we've collected, and by looking at the launch, what people responded to more. So which emails were the ones that resulted in the sales, which social media posts were the ones that got the most sales, and that helps us then repeat those themes or use those themes more in our launch strategy for next time. So we're looking at what worked really well. So what didn't work at all comes next. So maybe there was stuff that just didn't land, or people really objected to in a way that went against the offer. I haven't actually had that happen, but I imagine it could happen. What was confusing to buyers? So if you have people in the post-launch going, well, I just didn't really get it, like, or someone who you know is your ideal client and they're saying to you, I don't think that's for me because of XYZ, and you're like, okay, I've really got to clarify that next time, that it is for people who have this problem, and here's why. And also I want you to look at the impact on the energy levels. So in the next lesson that I've got for you, I do talk about that. So for example, with me, I have run bootcamp launch style approaches where I have a 4-day training that goes on, and that is really pretty effortful. And so people won't want to continue to do that because it's too tiring, or if you're not getting the result from it that you would expect from something like that, then you could move to a lower level energy launch. So my favorite way to launch is just really through my email list, without having any big event, or that is for me. It's the least impactful on my energy. I find it works really well. But I have tried all these other ways, and you'll hear more about that in the next training. And so what we're doing is using all that information to improve that next launch. And by improve, I mean we just want to sell more. We want to get it in front of more people. We want the right people to know it's for them. So we clarify our messaging. We target the known objections. So from that launch, you'll get more of a sense of what the objections to the offer is. You improve the sales page based on that information, and you're also improving your emails and your social media posts. Focus your marketing where most sales came from. Work out how to better support those energy levels, and explore alternative launch methods that are more sustainable. My coach that I work with for the Facebook ads, that's all she does is Facebook ads, and then she does usually a big launch event which she sells into the program. But she doesn't want to be doing organic social media to grow her audience all the time. So you might find that actually works better for you. Other people really like organic social media. They find that works better for their audience as well. So usually when things work in a business in terms of making money and it's not too bad for your energy levels, it's worth sticking to. Okay, so where to next? If you need help creating marketing copy that speaks directly to your ideal clients so that your social media and email posts are really talking to the right person and are very appealing to them and to the point where they're like, I can't wait to see your next email or post. I've got some people that read my weekly emails. They've been reading them for years. They are my ideal clients and they're very loyal. So that's the sort of thing that can happen when you get your messaging right, and that's what you'll get out of Marketing Magic. If you're at that point where you really want to become known as an expert and you're needing the steps to build your personal brand, have irresistible marketing messages that goes way beyond what's in Marketing Magic, and you need some one-on-one support from me, you can join the waitlist for my coaching intensive Thrive Amplified. I've got limited spots available for that on a one-on-one basis at the moment, and I'd love to support you with that if that's where you are at in your goals. So after this, I want you to move on to the Launch Magic formats, where I'll talk about all different ways in which you can use the steps from warm up to post launch, but do it in slight variations based on the type of offer that you are selling. Welcome to Launch Magic for Therapists. I'm so excited that you're here. In this training, I'm going to walk